purpose of this video is to introduce users to the HyperCities project. HyperCities can be found online at www.hypercities.com. HyperCities is a project sponsored by the MacArthur Foundation. It's a digital media and learning project in which students and adults delve into the historical layers of city spaces. It's essentially a time travel application in which users go back in time to write their own family genealogies, community memories, and histories of the places they live. It's also a collaborative undertaking. Museums, cultural institutions, universities, and communities all contribute content. The result is a new understanding of both the past and the present. Most users are familiar with Google Maps. We use Google Maps all the time to get driving directions or find updates about traffic. Some users also create their own maps about areas that matter to them. But up until now, it hasn't been possible to go back in time, to actually explore the past. With HyperCities, this is now possible. HyperCities considers maps as historical layers, essentially allowing a new dialogue between the past and the present, between memories and communities, throughout the past and into the present. Users begin in the present with the satellite imagery provided by Google, and then browse, network, search, upload and download media content based on space and time. The two fundamental principles for HyperCities are space and time. All media content is tagged with a space and a time location. Users essentially travel back in time to create and annotate their own family genealogies and make the past come alive. The maps function as layers in which users can unveil and contribute to these histories. HyperCities is a project in which users write their own histories. It's built literally from the ground up, one story at a time. Everyone can narrate their own story and contribute to these maps. The maps also allow for new understandings of the past. Finally, in terms of content within HyperCities, users can add videos, media content, photographs, texts, stories, and KML files, all available in a rich format that adds new kinds of discovery and contextualizations. Let's take a look at the HyperCities project in a little more detail. When you come to the home page, you can register for HyperCities, you can find out about the cities we're working on, learn about our current team, as well as find out about HyperCities in the news. You'll also be able to launch the HyperCities project here just by clicking on the button. When you launch HyperCities, the first thing you come to is an opening page in which you'll learn about the cities we're currently working on. We're working on Los Angeles, Ollantaytambo and Lima in Peru, New York, Berlin, and Tel Aviv. You'll also see a number of buttons at the bottom which allow users to do different things. They can add information about their lives, add media content, join groups, add special files called KMLs, and also curate and browse collections. Let's look briefly at Berlin. When I click Berlin, what happens is I see satellite imagery provided by Google Maps, a timeline at the top, as well as a series of times at the bottom. On the right-hand side, I see an intelligently populated list called an IntelliList. I can also view the world map and browse between different cities. The timeline is giving me information between 1650 and 2050. If I want to change the timeline, I simply drag the file, drag the ends, and I'll see different objects on the right. The objects on the right function as a geotemporal database. Based on the time coordinate and the place coordinate, objects are retrieved. The objects at the top are centered. The objects at the top of the IntelliList are based on their proximity to the center of the map. If I click on a given object, I'll learn more information about it, as well as see pictures and text relating to that particular place. On the bottom are a series of maps. If I want to go back in time and make comparisons between today and the present, I simply click on one of the maps. Here we have 1772 Berlin. I can easily toggle between 1772 and the present in order to make comparisons. I might also look at some of the files that are there. In this case, since I have 1952 to 2012 up, I might look at, for example, the Berlin Wall. I'll zoom out a bit and realize that in 1772, Berlin was actually quite a small city. And now with the Berlin Wall up, I get a sense about the extent of which the city was at that time. I can go back to 2008 and make a comparison. I can turn off the hotspots here, and I can also use overlays on top of the maps. In the next video, I'll talk to you more about some of the specific features of HyperCities, how to register, and also how to use the project in the classroom in different ways.